Welcome to the place of rest, where our aim is to give you language that helps you displace the growing confusion, chaos, and dis-ease of our times. My name is Jonathan Boyce, and it's my pleasure to bring to you the last episode of a 4-part miniseries with former guest Steve Rees. Today, Virginia and Steve conclude their discussion about healing frequencies. Stick around at the end of the episode for a special performance by Steve. We hope you enjoy today's conversation.
We talked a little bit about, in the last segment, about understanding chaos and transformative, basically healing rest in the context of energy. This segment, I'd like to talk a little bit about transforming the energy of chaos to the frequency of rest. So the other one was to give us a little bit of understanding, but this is to say, hey, how do we practically transform it? We have a healing model that I touched on last time, and I'll talk about that a little bit. The implications of the things that we discussed in the last segment are really important. And when you think about it, they're simple, they're accessible, they're applicable, but they're far-reaching, efficient, and effective.
Right, yeah.
And I want to be careful now about how can this information be transformative in our lives or in the life of those that are listening to us at displacing the confusion, chaos, and dis-ease of the age. Disease states are easy to discuss, but it feels like everything's upside down.
Right, it
and
is.
there are forces that are causing us and insisting that we not think or we not reason and we not believe what we see, but we must accept what we hear because they're the authority. But in them being the authority, whether it's a doctor, a politician, a spouse, a child, a friend, it doesn't matter. If somebody's claiming to be an authority on something that is violating my conscience, we need to be able to have pause to say, let me process that. Let me think about that. Right. I don't know how I feel about that. The resonance is off, right? The frequency is off. So I think we covered that a little bit last segment. Yesterday, for the first time, I showed you our entire R.E.S.T matrix.
Right.
Because that is the most tangible and accessible way that I have of helping people shift the energy from day one. We do it intentionally, again, with biometrics, with acoustic mirroring systems, and a number of modalities that are very efficient and effective. And I have data. I have baselines. So this isn't feely, artsy, out there thing. No, data, information. Then, because we don't diagnose, treat, or cure, we just give that information to them. 90% of the time, people can't believe what's on that paper.
Yeah.
Because hidden secrets are on there and they feel relieved now.
Well, they probably intuitively know the truth of it.
Totally.
Yeah.
But they, for whatever reason, sometimes it's trauma that they see on paper that they can access.
Yeah.
Other times it's secrets they're carrying, they don't want to talk about. And other times they will not revisit that. It's willful. So it's
fear.
For fear. A number of feelings, but those are the situations we see. So it's a gentle process that they really guide and direct, but we always have data and information to help them digest and facilitate the process, right? And some of the biometrics that we use are medicinal almost. They're not. I mean, we don't claim that. We don't diagnose, treat, or cure, but just that information coming into the realm where they can govern and change their thoughts, which changes the energy, which changes the frequency, which changes the information going through their entire cell, that becomes that's the healing factor. I'd like you to comment. So rest is that tangible thing we use that we know is transformative because that's the number one word people use to explain what we've said, that we've connected a lot of dots for them. What I'd like to know from you is what have you found to be the convergence in, well, first of all, you heard the Matrix yesterday. What was your view? Expound on it with your medical background, your personal background, and your music background.
Well, first of all, I think it's an amazing revelation that has come to you, and I can understand it took a while to a process of coming to. And the thing that I feel is so important about what you're doing is that it's kind of like what you're explaining, that there are the technologies that are brought in to bear on that, which gives information, but information is only as good as you make this 18-inch journey from here to here. So the thing I think is very powerful about what you're doing is that through a gentle process of revealing and then bringing about the encouragement to go forward, people are brought to that point of being able to, like Shirley said the other day, be able to drink. You show them the water, it's there. And then you've got them to that place where they can drink the water.
Choose to drink
and not, yeah.
They don't always drink from it.
It's fabulous that you maintain this position of we don't diagnose, we don't treat, we don't cure, because it's really the person is the only one that can do that, because they were designed by the designer to be able to do that, but sometimes they've lost their way. And I think a lot of what you're doing is helping them find their way.
Funny you should say that. So many people say, oh, I know why I have cancer.
Right.
I know how my daughter got leukemia, especially if they've been exposed to the work of Dr. Hammer, German New Medicine, the work of Dr. Sabat, the work of Pyramid of Health, Gilbert Renaud, the work of amazing scientists that I think have crossed over and understand the process of healing beyond the conventional Western modalities.
Right.
I think we're seeing a revolution of sorts take place. And your music gives us a whole new modality, actually, and framework to help people reason why, for example, that number 369 didn't come randomly to you, because it came randomly to you.
Right. And totally unexpected, One of the things that I think the music does is it breaks the cycle.
Right.
It subtly comes in, and see, a lot of times people are caught in a negative feedback loop. They do something that causes this, which makes them do something that causes this, which makes them do something that causes this. And the only way you can get out of that is if you break the cycle. And that's one of the things I think the music does very well, is it breaks the cycle. It helps people knowingly or unknowingly come into rest, that you used as an acronym for what you're doing, but rest just as a physiological state of being. The music brings people into that physiological state of being. And when you're in that physiological state of being, rest, things can happen that can't happen when you're all. So that's what you could call a destructive frequency. And if you consider the idea that if chaos is a destructive frequency and it's continuing to sound off in your life and it finds some resonant place in your life, that it begins to, it can destroy. And that's something to be really considered, because if you find yourself in dis-ease, it's very likely that you have entered that place of resonant frequency with the negative, with that chaos.
We have so many people that want to gift healing to their friends and family members. Due to popular request, we've officially created the Gift of Rest package for purchase. Please go to theplaceofrest.com/wholeness packages to view the Gift of Rest. If you've been listening to our podcast regularly and are now wondering, what's next, or how can I get more support? Our Day of Rest course is available to support you in your pilgrimage. Use the promo code PODCAST, all lowercase, to receive a 10% discount for our introductory Day of Rest course. Now back to the show.
Something amazing happened last night, and I was wondering if you could play that for us in closing.
Oh, I should be glad
Something
to do that.
amazing happened last night, and that is Steve began to play a piece that just took my breath away. And I asked, what is that? Is that a psalm? And he said, yes, it's Psalm 91.
Mm-hmm.
And that psalm was my lifeline when our 8-year-old little girl was diagnosed with a non-operable brain tumor.
Wow.
And they went in and found nobody wanted to touch her. Yet I knew she couldn't live in the state she was in. And another doctor found a Chiari malformation at the base of her brain. So they had to go in through the back, through the spinal cord, and decompress that area. And the entire experience was just terrifying. But when you played that song, I can't even explain to you what happened other than I knew it. I knew that song and it moved me to tears. Unless you have closing thoughts beyond rest and music and understanding the power of frequencies and energy and resonance and facilitating healing. And it can also be harnessed. Those laws can be harnessed by the mere intention of your heart.
Yeah. Whether the body or
the mechanism,
is
the
the one
vehicle.
that's in control, or the spiritual is
part.
in control.
Yeah.
And the spiritual is like our compass, our conscience. But it's the one that knows what truth is. And then the body part of us says, well, I want to do this. And I have the freedom to go ahead and make that choice. But once I make that choice, there's cause and effect.
Your flesh drives you, but your spirit compels you.
Yeah.
The question is who wins?
Yeah.
And that's negotiated in the soul.
We have to actively choose what is going to place us into that rest. It's not going to happen by accident. And that's going to be everything from the music we listen to, the TV we watch, movies we watch, sources of news, people that we associate with. If you find yourself in the middle of chaos and you're taking a clear look at what's going on around you, you find that that's not part of the pattern you want to follow. You're going to have to make some choices, and those choices are going to have to be deliberate. And in the middle of those choices, you can reset your compass, as it were. There has to be some point that you can trust that's steering you in the right direction. And once you know what that point is, then you're going to have to make some personal, sometimes tough decisions that are going to change your lifestyle so that you're not continuing down that track of chaos. You're actually shifting over to that track of rest. That's the heart of what you're doing.
Would you close this segment with a piece, Psalm 91?
I would be delighted. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, absolutely. Okay.
We trust that listening to today's episode has brought you closer to experiencing the freedom of wholeness and healing. If you have comments or questions about today's episode, or for updates about R.E.S.T, please visit our Instagram or Facebook at The Place of R.E.S.T. If you would like more information about Virginia, or to support and join the cause of R.E.S.T, please go to theplaceofrest.com/donate or call 949-289-5935. Thank you for listening to R.E.S.T with Virginia Dixon. We'll see you next week.